All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to first of all say thank you so much for showing up tonight on such a short notice. You only had a couple day notice, and some of us have been in this room for 2 days talking to people for the last 48 hours. And I can't say how much I appreciate you showing up. For those of you who do not know me, my name that will be on the ballot will be Joseph Maldonado, otherwise known as Joe Exotic around the world. This campaign started in November of 2015, ladies and gentlemen, because you and I of this country do not have a voice. We have never had a voice. And some things have to change in this political arena. And tonight I'm going to explain my platform to you and give you some ideas of exactly what I want to change in this country. So we're going to start off with the first thing is the politicians that are currently running in this race have been politicians so long that they have lost touch with reality of what it's going to take to put this country back on track. Example number one is Donald Trump cannot throw 10 million people out of this country. We do not have 10 million people that want to work and will take the jobs picking oranges and strawberries and working in the fields like the immigrant workers that we currently have in this country doing that job. So as an employer for most of my life, the idea that I would have would be, and I have spoken to the immigrant workers around the country already, and they would have no problem with paying a fine. And just to throw numbers out there and give you an example, we have approximately 11 million illegal immigrants in this country. So let's just base it on 10 million for right now. If we took 10 million illegal immigrants and fined them $1,000 and gave them a social security number and made them pay taxes just like we do, that would be $10 billion that we could put in a trust fund that could pay 350 million people in this country's health care insurance premiums over 5 years. And during that 5 years, we could take what taxes those 10 million more people that are going to be paying taxes and put back into that same trust fund to pay health care premiums for another 5 years. And you want to know how we can accomplish some of this stuff. I've been through the healthcare system of insurance canceling you, and I've been through being turned down by Obamacare. It has to completely go away. We cannot continue to live and stay healthy on Obamacare in this country. Now we can take and get rid of taxes and abolish the IRS and go with a flat tax. Do you realize how many people work for the IRS right now that are not doing their jobs? Nobody investigates any of the nonprofits that are scamming us for tax money. And we could set up one computer program and 100 people to just take a flat tax, and I'm going to throw another number out there, just 8%, okay? And charge the rich, the middle class, and the poor 8% tax. So you're going to have 10 million more people paying 8% tax to put into that trust to take care of our health care program in this country. And if Canada can do it and the UK can do it, the United States of America can do it. Okay, so now that we have our tax problem solved along with our health care problem solved, now we got to take care of the loopholes. Nonprofits in this country are draining this country simply by screwing the government of not having to pay sales tax or paying tax. And to give you a couple examples, you had the NFL in 2012 was nonprofit. The commissioner of the NFL was making 62 some million dollars a year as a salary that was subsidized by taxpayer money. If you take the CEOs of some of the healthcare insurance companies that are out there are making up to $66 million a year running the healthcare that you and I cannot get, that refuse to pay for the treatments we need. I can buy a $3 IV straight from the manufacturer for one of my animals that is the exact same IV that they use in a hospital that they're charging us $300 for. It is not necessarily the pharmaceutical companies in this country that are ripping you off. It is the doctors and the hospitals. So if we can abolish the IRS and we can abolish every nonprofit in this country except for life-saving hospitals such as the Shriners Hospital, life-saving hospitals that work on nonprofit status and nonprofit research for human life-saving reasons, and everyone else in this country, including the Humane Society of the United States, is $100 million a year. PETA's, Hillary Clinton's $432 million, and make them all pay 8% profit tax on that, we could get this country out of debt in less than 5 years. But right now we're giving way too much away. The rich are getting richer, and we're working to barely get by. Another thing that we have to get rid of in this country is the Electoral College. You do not have a voice of a vote. I don't care what you think or how you vote, but some of the electoral people that represent states don't even have to have permission to change that vote. So it needs to go back to we the people, for the people, one man, one vote, and let the popular vote dictate who is going to run this country. I started this campaign with absolutely nothing in a campaign fund, and we have been able to increase this campaign to 150 million people worldwide simply by campaigning on the internet and driving around like we have in Florida the last 4 days, stopping at the Waffle House and meeting some of the most awesome people that work for a living and are counting their change to pay their bill. While we have the other politicians spending over $100 million on campaigns because people are giving them up to $35 million at a time to sway a vote and to put somebody into office only because they have a political gain. So that's some of the basis on my campaign. Mr. Kasich, I am dying to debate that man on national television. He cannot run this country by the way he has run Ohio. When the Zanesville accident happened in Ohio, him and a few of his buddies master planned a law to apply to the citizens of Ohio to the tune of $6.4 million that was taken out of the taxpayers' money without their even knowledge of what was really going on. And then to issue $250,000 contracts to the exact same people that helped him push that law through. And if you think for 1 minute that he wouldn't do that as president of the United States of this country to all 50 states, he's a dangerous, dangerous man to be in a political office. Senator Rubio has offered hardly nothing for Florida. Hillary Clinton is on the verge of being indicted. Bernie Sanders, he's such a socialist that he can't even think straight. He wants to raise minimum wage to $15 an hour. Have you went through a fast food service and got an order right? And we want to raise minimum wage on a small business owner to $15 an hour. Most Americans don't put enough thought behind any of this to even think that a small business owner who is going to fork out $15 an hour and throw another number out there for you and take $4 out of that paycheck for taxes, and then that employer has to match that $4, that minimum wage has now turned into $19 an hour. How many small businesses in this country would shut their doors for $19 an hour? Mine would be one of them. These people have no clue what's going on out here in the real world. None whatsoever. I don't know how long it's been since any of you that own businesses, I know I spoke to most of you for the last 2 days in this room. We can't find 20 people to work, let alone raise what we do have to $19 an hour. It's absolutely impossible. These politicians have no clue what's going to affect our lives. And right now, you don't have even a vote because they're all about electoral votes right now. So what runs our country. We need to get rid of lobbyists completely out of politics. It's a shame that a lobbyist can receive so much money to go stand in a senator's office or on the Hill and sway votes that affect your lives and your businesses. All because some interest group has more money than you do to fight for your own rights. We have a law introduced in Oklahoma right now that has passed the House, unanimously passed the committee, to make it illegal for any animal rights organization to raise money in the state of Oklahoma. And then Oklahoma took that one step further. And if you are based in Oklahoma and you raise money for an animal welfare organization, it will be illegal to use any dime of that for any political reason. Most of you know that I own 214 tigers of my own, okay? We're going to change the name of the Humane Society of the United States in a couple of weeks to the Humane Society of 49 states. And we're going to sweep that across the country until somebody listens to us that our money in each state is being stolen by a special interest group in order to have a $2 million pension fund. It's a shame, and I see this from my own family, that my 83-year-old mother and my 83-year-old father have to go to Kentucky Fried Chicken and eat off of a buffet and wrap up chicken in a napkin for the lunch the next day because their Social Security has been stolen to the tune of $2.7 trillion by bad investments of our government that didn't even belong to them. And the sad part is the American public are so out of touch with politics because they have given up. They don't even vote. Most of the people that I talk to don't even vote anymore. Okay? And they don't even realize our generation that's in their 20s and early 30s, they don't even realize that Social Security is taken out of their and their employer's money, and not a dime of it is paid by the United States government. But the United States government can keep robbing it to make bad investments. Now, I stand behind every bit of our military, but we spent last year $5 billion on redesigning our camouflage that did not work. We spent $5 billion on a hot air balloon that crashed in Pennsylvania and a bunch of trees. Our military is sitting on a boneyard over by Phoenix, Arizona, with 300 brand new tanks that have never been started because somebody got a contract from somebody who knew somebody. It's got to stop. We're going to support our military and we're going to give them what they need, but the overspending because a special rights group or somebody that knows somebody for a kickback in order to get $1 billion contract or a $10 billion contract has got to stop. And when we have terrorists threatening our way of life and our citizens, we need to just go in and obliterate it. Come home and let them spend the next years cleaning it up instead of us cleaning up every mess we make. Maybe if they're building for the next 10 years, they won't have time to reorganize another group like ISIS. Okay, so I promised when I started this that I am the voice of the people, and I'm going to open the floor up to whatever affects your life and what you would like to see changed, other than things that we already know that need changed, and that's half the cabinet fired, and term limits put on politicians. This shouldn't be a 40-year career of sitting in a leather chair accepting political money for the next season's vote. You know? There's so much wrong with our country because we gave up. And let me tell you, when I started this, I had no dream that 150 million people worldwide would be supporting me. Now, after the primaries are over, we finally have news coverage. My name is secured on so many ballots already. Once it reaches national news, some of the other states will automatically put it on that ballot. We've got some work ahead of us to do because we have some petitions to do and everything else. But 150 million people in less than 5 months, I'd say, is pretty damn impressive. So, my friends of America, let's hear what you would like to see changed.
What can you do about government overreach and the government agencies that intrude on small businesses and use their weight to crush small businesses?
Okay, well, you know, first of all, and I have done several videos about this, and nobody has picked it up and nobody has said a word about it because of the special rights group and special interest groups and the oil money and the gas money. I got a warning ticket for burning boxes on my property because the wax and the ink releases something into our atmosphere, which is another subject I'll get on here in a second. But a quarter mile from me, the refinery located in Wynnewood, Oklahoma, has a permit by the EPA to pump a pipe hidden in the ground, covered with rocks, to the tune of almost 300 gallons a day, 300,000 gallons a day of sludge into the Ouachita River. It's not about saving our environment, our animals, our plants, our planet. It's about money talks. So government overreach with the EPA, the DEQ, OSHA, it's all going to be reformed. The United States Department of Agriculture, if they want us to abide by laws, it's time Congress and the politicians and the different agencies abide by some laws. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say that I live on Social Security disability, and I can't live on it. I can't. There's no way.
And that's my whole purpose of the illegal immigrant fine and having them pay taxes And we only have 350 million people in this country. So let's take $10 billion. We already have a health care program in this country run by the government, and that's Medicare. Okay? So let's reform Medicare to where you have a choice of doctors. Your doctors can give you whatever treatment you need to stay alive and put everybody on Medicare. Instead of the CEO of Aetna getting millions of dollars for a salary every year, or Blue Cross Blue Shield taking my insurance premium for 10 years, and the time I use it, they cancel me. We can just reform Medicare and SSI in this country to where it actually does something. And that's where the $10 billion is gonna start, is instead of saying you can have Blue Cross, you can have Aetna, you can have this, and you can have that, let's just reform what we already got and make it work. And everybody sign up for Medicare. It's not going to be a government-run healthcare, okay? It's just the government's going to collect the money and put it into the trust to pay the bill, all right? It's not going to be like the VA hospital where you have to sit in line for 3 days to get your leg cut off because they're too cheap to do something to save your leg. I had my own ambulance service at the age of 18. I took many people to the VA. It's a sad, sad sight what we do to our veterans. I was a police chief at the age of 19, and it's even a sadder sight to see that city council members of small towns ride around with their cops and tell them who to pick on and who not to pick on. And then our police officers in this country need some support. They're no different than you people that have animals or you people that have children. There's bad parents out there. There's bad animal owners out there. And there's some bad cops out there. But this Black Lives Matter stuff that's going on in this country has to stop. All lives matter. And you can't tell me till the next day I take my last breath that this was put in motion for a reason. And you heard that reason on national television here a while back when President Obama says that Donald Trump will not be president because Black Lives Matter. I am far from anybody that's prejudiced. I have some of the best friends that are black, but it's time everybody matters in this country.
Money out of the electoral process?
You know what? It's going to take. We have problems in Congress where Congress protected themselves, first of all, that they can run 2 terms and get paid a certain amount the rest of their lives with health benefits and everything else. How many jobs have you had, you've been fired, and you got paid the rest of your life? Exactly none, right? Okay, so it's going to take some repealing, and it's going to take, I am fighting probably the hardest fight any election person has ever fought in this country, because everything I stand for is going to cut their money out. In Washington, in the Senate, in the House of Representatives, down to city council members. And I cannot tell you people enough in this country that if you don't like what your city is posting upon you, you have the American right to run against them next term and change this country for what people want to work in this country. It's time these career politicians get a job.
Joe, I would go one step further with the term limits. What people don't understand, and I've worked the political system, is when that senator goes, the committee staff, the agricultural committee, the insurance committee, they stay there 30 years and they write the bills. I know it, I've seen it. So
Right.
they should have limitations.
Everybody in the political system should have term limits. If a governor can't run more than 8 years, or a mayor can't run more than so long, why should a city council member or somebody sitting on a committee, or a senator or a congressman or a House of Representatives. Hell, the President of the United States can't run more than 8 years. And if the highest person in this country cannot run more than 8 years, why can anybody below him?
The committee members are the experts.
They are the ones.
40 years, and a new legislator will go to them to have it explained. And
Correct.
They write the bills.
Correct. I have been sitting in this room for 2 days talking politics and how to write bills and how people can stop bills and so on and so forth. And it's the senators are told what to vote for. The House of Representatives are told by their aides, by the committee people, by the agencies that do all the research. You bet. I'm right there with you. Okay? We got to get there before we can make this change. Or at least they got to hear us before November the 8th. That not one of them people running for president of this country right now are even on the same planet we are. Okay? They literally have leather butts from sitting in a chair for 30 years. When I heard the first time come out of Trump's mouth that he's going to throw 10 million working people out of this country, I couldn't sleep. And I'm like, what are we going to do about this? So I made 40 videos every day for 40 days trying to get the man's attention. And that proved one more thing to me. They're too busy to talk to me and you. So I took my American right and I signed up with the Federal Election Board as an independent to run for the country's highest office. And whether we win or whether we lose, by November the 8th, the American people are going to have a choice. Anybody else?
What about frivolous lawsuits that are brought against you just to put you out of business and you can't afford to fight any longer?
Okay, that's another thing that needs reform in our judicial system and our judges. And I think once you find out that you don't have career judges anymore, you know, they're all voted in just like anybody else, and they're all taking lobbyist money just like anybody else, okay? And I think once we get this far and we start voicing our opinion, that the rich cannot keep bullying the poor because the poor can't afford lawyers to defend themselves in this country, that frivolous lawsuits are going to be stopped. But one law I would like to see go in effect also with criminals in this country is if you are charged with a crime and you go through the judicial process and you are no billed or you are found innocent, the state, the county, or the city that prosecuted you must reimburse you for every legal expense you have put in. Because it is not fair that a district attorney that's eating lunch with a lawyer in the same little town, and trust me, I'm from the same little bullying town anybody else is. They all eat lunch together. They all go out to dinner together. And then they're all going to prosecute you together. Okay? Our county that I live in is famous for arresting you, making you post bond, whether it's cash or they're friends with the bail bonds guy across the street. And then the day of court, you pay court costs, we'll drop the charges. Why don't you just pull me over and ask me for a donation? You hear what I'm saying? There's a lot in this country, Kathy, that needs reform. I know some of you very personally in this room, and I know some of the legal battles that you're going through that ain't right in this room. And the only way that we're going to change any of this is to get that 150 million people up to 400 million people and scare the hell out of them. I promised everybody that from the day I signed up, I'll put a public video out that anybody has access to. I'm not cutting my hair. I'm not wearing a suit. I ain't taking mirror rings out. And I'm married to the sexiest man on this planet. And if you don't like me, vote for Trump. Any other questions?
What about the baseball cap?
The baseball cap. I'm a big fan of Seth Whatley. Baseball cap stays. Leather jacket stays. But anyway, you know, on a serious note, ladies and gentlemen, when I did this, you know, people ask me, well, you know, I've never seen you in a suit. I ain't wearing a suit. Because to me, if I have to put on a suit to gain your respect for fighting for your rights, we don't even need to be acquaintances. Because you're making me be fake to fight for your rights.
There's enough phoniness
We're
already.
going to keep our Second Amendment right in this country. They're not going to take it away from us.
Joe, my whole life, I've been told that my rights end where someone else's nose begins.
And unfortunately,
What about the opposite of that? There are people out there that want to control my life. They want to tell me what I can and can't do with my property.
now that is exactly where I was going, clear down to a city council member or a county commissioner. As long as you rightfully pay for your property and you pay your property taxes and you're not hurting your neighbor, and what I mean by that is you're not physically just going over there and hurting your neighbor, you should be able to do whatever you want on your property. In Oklahoma, I cannot bury my own dog on my property because my property is not 300 feet wide. So I have to take him to the landfill. Okay? This used to be America before lobbyists, politics, and campaign money got involved. And nobody should be able to tell you what to do on your property. Right now in Ohio, Governor Kasich has SWAT teams going in homes, pointing guns at women and children over animals. And if he's doing that to American citizens over animals, what the hell is he going to do if we break the law? You're going to be in a concentration camp in an empty Walmart somewhere.
I was not talking about real estate. I was talking.
You're anything you own, animals, it's your property. And that's where we get into, once the lobbying is gone, and once the money-raising nonprofit tax loophole's gone, I think you'll see a whole lot less people in this country being able to tell you that your animals aren't your property. Right now they're trying to tell you that your animals have rights.
They're trying to tell me that animals are dangerous and the statistics are exactly the opposite.
You know what? I used to own a grooming shop for 16 years, and I got bit by more chihuahuas than I ever did pit bulls. How many in this room own a house cat? Have you bathed that house cat? You need 6 people and 4 quarts of blood. And this man owns tigers. How many people you need to bathe your tiger?
I don't need blood.
Exactly.
I have a right to take the assumption of risk, just like the good cops and the firemen. And I take my assumption of risk as an adult.
You obviously watch my videos.
You can't.
Because in America, as an American citizen, I have the right to assume the risk in my profession. No different than a cop, a firefighter, an oil rig worker, or any one of you getting on that highway today and thinking you're going to make it home alive tonight. You have more of a risk of being killed today on that highway than anybody in this room by animals. And that's where America needs to wake the hell up.
I think jumping out of a plane is dangerous, but
They do it.
I wouldn't take you right away to do it.
Exactly. Exactly. My brother was killed at the age of 32, moving my sister. And he was driving on his side of the road. Your 15-year-old kid living next to me is more dangerous to you than most of your people's animals are. one other thing that I'm going to make sure that we do, and that is we're going to sell marijuana nationwide for several reasons. One is Colorado's collecting $100 million a month in sales tax right now. In Oklahoma, our school districts are closing because Oklahoma ain't got enough money to keep schools open. And they're eating the worst lunches that chicken nuggets can provide. You do not have the right to use CBD oil even if it makes you think it's curing your cancer and making you feel better. But the government's selling it. The government's collecting sales tax on it. So why don't we give America that choice? How many people do you hear on the news just killed a family because they're stoned? Seriously, the law to sell marijuana will put you in your house. You're allowed to smoke it in your house. That's it, okay? When you buy it at a medical facility or a recreational facility, they staple the receipt to the bag. And I don't smoke pot, folks. They staple the receipt to the bag. And if it's tampered with, when you get pulled over before you get home, you broke the law, okay? But wouldn't you rather have somebody sitting in their living room watching Family Guy, smoking a joint, than out on the road with a six-pack in a passenger seat? Why do we sell beer and liquor at every gas station in America? Because you're making money on it. Our government's making money on your family getting killed. And it's time we change this country and put it back for the people. Yes, ma'am.
What are your views on the gun laws?
The gun laws? I think you have the right to bear arms, okay? And right now, a lot of people are being taken that right away for minor crimes, okay? Drug offenses, okay? You're not going to kill somebody because you got a drug offense. You should still have the right to bear arms, okay? And that should be taken away from the state. That's a constitutional right to bear arms. And you should be able to bear arms anywhere in this country that you want to bear arms. The only thing that I disagree with any of this gun stuff is gun-free zones. You're a target. What the hell is a gun-free zone? It's a bunch of people meeting in a certain place that are helpless. Seriously. Have you seen very many terrorist attacks in a 7-Eleven with 10 people packing guns? Movie theaters where nobody hardly carries a gun. Schools. Post offices. Merle Federal Building. Twin Towers. Gun wouldn't help you there at any of those, but I'm just saying. And the thing about what we're going to do with terrorists, if you don't think that the families of those people that flew them planes into the World Trade Center didn't know what the hell was going to happen, you're crazy. You're wrong. Their wives and their kids knew that they weren't coming back. And nobody bothered to pick up a phone and save them people. Somebody knew that San Bernardino thing was going to happen. Somebody knows something all the time. Somebody knows where the hell Don Lewis is in Hillsborough County. If you think for 1 minute she killed him by herself, you're wrong. She ain't got that many guts. There's a dirty cop, a dirty friend, or a dirty family member in every mass murder there is that knows something. So why are we protecting their families? Why should we not interrogate their families? If America would stand up and say, look, man, you just cut the heads off of some of our people. Boom. You think they'd do it again? You think anybody else would mess with us? We toy with people too much. We spend too much money toying with people. You know why? Because it drives the economy up. Gas prices go up. People start making money. It's all a political game, guys. It's all a political game. And your life and your family's life and your kids' life are all the pawns of a political game. And it's time we're going to stop this. Joe Exotic for America.